Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Now, Marcus Rashford is one player you're going to be listening to on this channel for a very long time this summer because Mikel Arteta and Marcus Rashford have held talks between the two of them. There is mutual interest between Arsenal and Marcus Rashford. However, it is still not yet known whether Manchester United will be willing to sell to Arsenal this summer. I'm going to be diving into that story because it looks like Mikel Arteta is a big fan of Marcus Rashford. Right from 2020 when he had just signed as Arsenal manager, he's one of the players that he's always talked about in different transfer summers. I think him and Martin Zubimendi are some of the players that we've always admired but never signed. So Marcus Rashford this summer as Arsenal look for a centre forward stroke a winger. He's one player Arsenal are really looking at. But also there is another player in Pedro Neto that Arsenal are keeping very close eyes on. Pedro Neto is another player that Arsenal have been really interested in for 3 years now. Arsenal have tried to do something with Pedro Neto. I think we tried to sign him in 2021, 2022 and 2023. Well, guess what? Even in 2024, Arsenal are still interested in Pedro Neto. And should we fail to get Marcus Rashford and maybe Benjamin Sesko, I won't be surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised, if Arsenal go in and table a bid for Pedro Neto at Wolverhampton Wanderers. So in the comment box below, let's have the conversations. Is it Marcus Rashford for you? Is it Pedro Neto for you? For me, I would go with Marcus Rashford. And I'm going to explain my reasons between these two players, why I would go with Marcus Rashford, although I think Neto is also an explosive talent. For a club like Wolves, they deserve to have him. For a club like Arsenal, I don't think Pedro Neto's injury record could actually sustain him at the club. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get this video to 300 likes and let's bomb that comment section. Now let's start off with the big story on Marcus Rashford. Of course, it's been everywhere. Possibly you've already seen it by now. Arsenal, Mikel Arteta and Marcus Rashford have had conversations on a potential summer transfer over the past few weeks. There is interest on both sides, but it's currently unknown whether Manchester United would be willing to sell to Arsenal. Mikel Arteta really likes Marcus Rashford, and the question there is, would you like to see Marcus Rashford move to North London this summer? To sign for Arsenal? That is the big question for you in the comment box below. So, I mean, there is a lot to cipher through. There's a lot to dive through in this story. One, there are claims that the two have had talks, Mikel Arteta and Marcus Rashford. That is a little bit, I would say, unprofessional. Obviously, that's much we know because Marcus Rashford is still under contract with Manchester United. So if Arsenal want to access him, they've got to get very good permission and very substantial permission from Manchester United. So this is more of a leak. It's not official that they've had talks. It is actually a leak coming in from sources that both Marcus Rashford and Mikel Arteta have talked about the future of the player, and Mikel Arteta would love him to join Arsenal this summer. Now, I think the talks, we cannot verify that. We cannot confirm whether that is true or not because it is not official and it will never be official. But one thing we know is that Mikel Arteta likes to talk to players prior to signing them. If you listen to the interviews, if you go and rewatch the interviews of players that have signed for Arsenal, be it Declan Rice, be it Kai Havertz, be it Martin Odegaard, they have that line that says, when I talk to Mikel Arteta, he sold the idea. He sold to me the idea of playing for Arsenal, and he sold the project to me, and I understood what they're trying to do as a club, and I bought onto it. So it means that Mikel has got the tendency, and he's got that ability to talk to players and sell the Arsenal project to them. At this point in time, I don't think Mikel was talking to Marcus Rashford to sell the project to Marcus Rashford. The Arsenal project is no longer taking money in terms of advertisement. Like we would be scammed if any advertising agent told us that you've got to give me some money to advertise your project. This project is PR. It is doing its own PR. It is self-advertising, and any players, like we've been told, all players, many big names would love to be part of this Arsenal side. So I think the conversations, if it happened, the conversation should be that Mikel Arteta is trying to push Marcus Rashford out of his comfort zone that he's enjoying at Manchester United. He's really earning big wages, around 300,000 per week. If he came in at Arsenal, Rashford would be one of the most paid players, if not the most paid player at Arsenal, if his wages were actually to be transferred from Man United to Arsenal. So I think what Mikel is trying to tell Rashford here is that you are such a quality player. There is a player in you, and we have seen that on 2 or more occasions, on seasons or in seasons, we have had such a very, very big impact, on your career, but also on Man United. So how about you come to Arsenal, a well-organized project, and I'll make you a monster of a player. And I believe there is a monster of a player in Marcus Rashford, and I think Arsenal can revitalize the career of Marcus Rashford. Now, is it a player that I think Arsenal should definitely be going for right now? No. But at least according to what we are hearing and according to the transfer links we are seeing, I don't think Arsenal is going to sign your Rafa Leao or Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia or Vinicius Jr. I don't think that's going to happen. If you're going to sign a winger, it's going to be either one youngster who is looking to hit a higher ceiling, or one guy that has proven, like Marcus Rashford, he's proven he can do it, but he's been very inconsistent. And we're going to talk about the downside and the upside of Marcus Rashford as a player. Inconsistencies, and of course the fact that he's Premier League proven. So for me, I think Mikel believes in himself. He's turned Kai Havertz around. He's turned Odegaard around. He's turned so many players' careers around. And maybe he thinks that Marcus Rashford is, could be one of those, players whose career turns around at the hands of Mikel Arteta. I mean, think about Xhaka. Think about Kai Havertz. I'm going to give you a very interesting statistic. Ever since his breakthrough season at Bayer Leverkusen, where he contributed, 18 goal, where he had 18 goal contributions, Kai Havertz has had his best season in terms of GA, in terms of goals and assists at Arsenal. That is 20 goal contributions. So if you want to say he's not turned his career around, that is up to you. But I think he's turned his career around. So I am going to go ahead and say that Mikel Arteta is very confident he can turn the career of Marcus Rashford around. At this point in time, it is not known whether Man United want to sell, but at least we know that there is mutual interest according to reports. Now, let's talk about the price before we get into why Marcus Rashford maybe is the right or wrong option for Arsenal to be going for. The pricing for Marcus Rashford is going to be, in my opinion, around 75 to 85 million. We've got to think about it. Marcus Rashford is homegrown. He's an English talent. He's a player in his prime. And prime, I don't mean being in form, because he is actually not in form. But prime, I mean that he's actually a player between 24 to 29. That is where players are very expensive. Of course, these days with the multi-club, with the multi-club model and player, contract amortization, you have a lot of young players, going for expensive prices, really big prices. But in football, if you want to buy a proven product, it is 23 to 29. That is where you're seeing the big money being spent on players. So I think Man United will look at that and say, he's not a bad player. He's just had a fantastic season, the season before the previous one. So if you have 75 million, we will be willing to negotiate. If you don't have 75 million pounds, you're not the right person to sign, or you're not the right club to do business with in terms of signing Marcus Rashford. So how much would you be willing to spend on Marcus Rashford? Let me know in the comment box below, because I really, really like to know. So let's talk about Rashford as a player. These are some of the things that Mikel Arteta has got to coach out of Marcus Rashford if he really thinks and if he really feels that Rashford can be saved. If his career is going to be saved. These are some of the things you need to coach out of him. Number one, selfishness. So we have seen the introduction of Garnacho. We have also seen the introduction of Anthony and the introduction of Rasmus Højlund at Man United, together with a new manager in Erik ten Hag, who's been there for 2 seasons now. But one thing we have seen with Marcus Rashford is he will pass on the chance to lay it for his striker, Rasmus Højlund, or he will pass on the chance to lay it for Alejandro Garnacho in order for him to go for goal, and he will hit it on the bar, he will, hit it straight to the goalkeeper, or he'll actually hit it over the bar, or wide and wild. But he will not release, Rasmus Højlund. He will not set up, Garnacho. The one thing you have seen from with this Arsenal side is selflessness. So you look at Saka's goals, impressive, but then look at his numbers in terms of creativity. Look at Odegaard in terms of creativity. Look at Kai Havertz in terms of creativity. Look at Leandro Trossard in terms of creativity. Even the best finishers at Arsenal in Kai Havertz and Leandro Trossard are doing as much as they can to set up other players. They're doing it as much as they can to set up other, goal-scoring opportunities. Rice, 9 goals scored this season, 9 or 8, and 8 assists. Odegaard, 8 or 9 goals this season, and 8 or 9 assists. So what we're talking about is a balance, and that balance is brought about by Mikel Arteta coaching selflessness. So can he coach selflessness in Marcus Rashford? Can he, tell Marcus Rashford that look at the big picture? Can he teach Marcus Rashford to look at the big picture? The big picture is not you scoring 100 goals and Arsenal finishing 8th. The big picture is you scoring 5 goals and assisting 15 times and the team wins the trophy. So that is the first thing Mikel Arteta has got to do when it comes to Marcus Rashford. Coach the selflessness. Coach some selflessness into this guy. The second thing that I think Marcus Rashford has got to learn from Mikel Arteta is finishing. And I don't think Mikel Arteta has done a very good job in terms of working onto the finishing of players, but I think he's not far away. So when we talk about Kai Havertz, best season in terms of GA. When we talk about Bukayo Saka, I was one person who was really talking about Saka's finishing. I think that has gone up a little bit. The same as Martin Odegaard, that has gone up a little bit. For Odegaard, it has gone up exponentially. For Saka, it has gone up exponentially. For Kai Havertz, I don't think exponentially, but I think it will be there. So Marcus Rashford's finishing, despite the fact that he can score some good goals, is disgusting. It is disgusting. It is stinking. If there is one thing that Arsenal have got to work on with Marcus Rashford, it will be his finishing. And if he can finish those chances that he can get, because he can get himself in very good situations, might not be such a bad player. And then inconsistency. So the thing with Rashford is that he can have a very good campaign, and then he's going to have a very, very poor campaign right the next campaign. You can see you can see what happened last season, where he was arguably one of the best players in the Premier League, and what has happened this season, where he's arguably one of the worst players in the Premier League. So I think inconsistency, he's got to be more consistent as a player. I don't know whether that is coachable or that is, self-discipline and work ethic. I'm not really sure why he's very inconsistent, especially through seasons. One good season, another bad one. Another good season, another bad one. But that could be attributed to the phases that Manchester United as a club have been going through. Marcus Rashford has been under how many managers? Let's count. Ferguson, Moyes, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, Louis van Gaal. There's around 6 managers. Like, when did Sir Alexander Chairman Ferguson leave? It's like a decade ago. That's 10 years. So in a space of 10 years, Marcus Rashford has had around 6-7 managers at Man United. That is insane. That is purely insane. So that could be attributed, and his lack of consistency could be attributed to his lack of consistent management, right? But anyway, I think that's one of the things that he's got to work on. The upside on him is he's in his prime. He's a proven goal scorer for me, and I think he's not a very injury-prone player. So when you put that together and you add his pace and ability to score goals, Arsenal could spend around 60 to 70 million on this guy, and we might actually get a good player. But the other player is Pedro Neto. Arsenal very much interested in Neto since quite a couple of years ago. And Arsenal again are back with with their interest in Pedro Neto is appreciated. He could be expensive because his contract I think runs down in the next 2-3 years. So Wolves still have a big advantage in terms of negotiation and also his injury-prone nature. That is one thing I'm afraid when it comes to Pedro Neto. We'll talk about Pedro Neto live today, I think at around 9 p.m. But if Arsenal can get to work on his injury-prone nature, again, Pedro Neto, he's another freak of a talent. See you soon.